So there we were beneath the burning sky. Both had a reason to live, but so much more to die. Will fate decide who has to go?
Bite. Oh, there, live bite. Nice. Oh, it's a good sander.
It's a sander.
Yeah.
Who's dealt more? Well, I leave that up to you.
Welcome, guys. Welcome from a beautiful lake in Sweden to another guide interview. We have Christian Krintel here, who's a Swedish guide. Hello. Thank you for welcoming us on your boat.
Always welcome.
We're on a pike trip today, and yeah, as you know from the other videos before, the last video was in Denmark, also about predator fishing. Today it's gonna be probably pretty much about pike in specific.
Yeah.
And we will ask Christian for the best techniques, for what you can expect in the area, what his guidings look like, and pretty much everything about pike fishing in the area. So stay tuned. Leave a like and a follow if you want to see more of the content where we really ask the experts of the specific area, just like Christian. And yeah, let's head straight into the video. We do it a little bit more interactive right now, so we start fishing now on a small, but just you can join in. Where are we fishing right now while the interview?
This is your typical shallow southern Swedish lake pikes. So the area here is between 1 and 2.5, 3 meters. Brown water it gets brown from runoff from the forest. So and so we've just been trawling a little bit, trying to search for a few pikes, and now we're gonna do a little bit of spin fishing across a rock pile.
Great, and let's see if we get some live bites maybe. Otherwise, I will ask Christian some questions to get value out for you, and yeah, talk to you later.
Jinx it, let's jinx it.
Okay. Okay, Christian, who are you? Maybe first give an introduction of yourself so the people know who they can possibly book a guiding with.
All right, so I'm Danish actually, but live in Sweden and have done for many years. I started guiding. I've been fishing for 35, 38 years, something like that. Everything. But I guess my favorite species are zander and pike, okay, and carp also. But pike fishing is definitely my favorite type of fishing.
Okay.
I do most of my fishing from. Actually, I do all of my pike fishing from boats. Mm-hmm. I have 2 boats, this one and a smaller one. This one is pretty big. We can have up to 4 fishing adults, plus me. Then I have a smaller one, which we can put in a lot of small lakes that doesn't have launch ramps and stuff like that, which can take 2 people. So it serves a little bit of a different purpose. And the fishing a lot of the time is like this. We do casting most of the time, but it depends on what people want. Actually, I try to customize my trips,
okay, yeah,
so they fit the customer, not really me.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's a bit of a challenge sometimes, but it also makes it a little bit more fun for the guide. You have to change up a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, today we did a little bit of trawling, which has actually been a while since I did trawling, so that was nice.
Yeah.
And
you also caught a fish already, which you probably have seen.
Yeah, we caught a small one. It was
had 2 more contacts probably, which went off unfortunately. But for 1 hour, that was really good.
Yeah, that was actually. But it's also like the conditions today are they're perfect.
Now we're out for like 10 minutes, and we got the first fish. We had some false alarm already, where I thought it was a fish, but it wasn't. But now it is.
It's small. Look at the bite marks.
Oh yeah.
Something grabbed hold of it during spawning. Something big and mean. I'll let her go.
Bye bye. You talked about this specific water, so we have a brown, pretty shallow lake here.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the area maybe a little bit more, because this is not the only water you're guiding. You're
No.
also doing deeper lakes, right?
Yeah. So
what can one expect in the area to fish?
Well, I mean, the main species are pikes and zander.
Yeah.
Early year, so like after the ice breaks in February, March, then it's mostly pike fishing. Obviously, zanders are also good, but it's more specialized zander fishing using Livescope, and it's not for everyone. But mostly it's pike fishing, and some of the lakes are like this, very shallow, with a lot of almost like marshy areas around, which produces a lot of pikes because they have a good spawning areas. Then we have other types of lakes that are deeper ones, clear lakes, but much deeper, much bigger. This is a fairly shallow, small lake. It's like what, 200-300 hectares or something. But some of the other lakes we fish are 1,000 plus, between 1,000 and 5,000 hectares. So it's a very different type of fishing. And those are deeper lakes, so we will be fishing out over 10-15 meters of water with deeper lures, finding bait fish, schools of bait fish, and fishing through those. And we use the Livescope a lot of the time to locate active fish. So that's
the start.
two main types of lakes.
Okay.
Some of them we have rivers too, but they're usually in connection to lakes. So.
Interesting. You mentioned the Livescope. You have the newest technology on the boat, which we will come later to also. But maybe let's get back to the roots. Like, where did you start fishing? Have you been predator fishing all the time, or did you start? You mentioned carp before. Like, what are your roots in fishing?
My roots in fishing started in, actually I know the year, it's 1984.
Okay, that's precise. Yeah.
I was in school and we had some sort of activity day in school, and one of the things that you could sign up for was going fishing.
Okay.
And I'd never gone fishing before, but I was kind of fascinated by it.
Yeah.
So I went on this fishing trip and nobody caught anything. like 60 pupils and some small lake, and nobody caught a single fish. But a little bit further down, there was this one guy, he was sitting like, he was course angling, and he was like, catching one after the other. He actually knew what he was doing. It's like, he's catching a lot of fish, and I was a little bit fascinated by that. So, was that a bite? No, it's just your lure.
No, that was my lure.
So I got very fascinated, and then my mother didn't know what to do with me, so she found a local fishing club, and she put me in that one. The rest is history. Then then it took off. Then it was like fly fishing a lot of the time, and it was sea fishing. And then when I have some friends that are still close friends, and we fish together still. So we've been fishing together since we were like 10 years old. And then we discovered carp fishing, so we started carp fishing. But predator fishing has been the main thing for the last, 15 years to me. 15, 16 years.
Great. I mean, that's your great expertise also, which I feel beside carp fishing. So that's really nice to know. We also talked about, you mentioned your favorite species already, but talking about how long you're fishing, how long do you guide for now? Because I think you mentioned at the beginning, but also for the viewers, since when are you doing what you're doing right now, like a professional guide?
I started my guide business three years ago, I think. Yeah. Okay. So this is the third season.
Yeah.
In the beginning it was kind of funny because nobody knew I had existed, so there was very few bookings, but now it's a lot. So this time of year I guide between 2 and 4 times a week actually, so that's spring fishing.
Okay, yeah.
So everything is in season, right? And it becomes sort of the same during October, because that's October, November, just before the ice comes. That's like the perfect pike season. Yeah. So I mean, my favorite species for spin fishing is pike. I mean, there's just nothing like a pike strike.
I mean, we've also seen that in the boat. Everything is really set up 100% perfect for pike here. We have all the rods which you can show here. All the lures in the bucket, like really big lures for big pikes also, which are all bitten like crazy. Perfect. Besides the species and like we see here also all kinds of types of fishing. So we see a Livescope, we see casting rods. What is your favorite type of fishing? You offer a lot, but what do you like to
my
do?
own favorite is fishing like this. It's like using the Livescope just to localize where are the active fish, and then basically what we nowadays is called blind casting. So we actually cast for the fish and feel the bite. That's probably my favorite fishing, because I mean that bite just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
it's great, and you see a follower. But I use the Livescope a lot, because I always have, when I have customers in the boat in particular, I always have an eye down on the Livescope, because sometimes you have followers coming in, and then I can see the follower on the Livescope, and then I can like, all right, cast 5 meters that direction. Let's just see if it's active. And more often than not, it's a bite.
Okay, that's good.
I even have a video on that. No, I haven't posted it actually, but I'll post it at some point. Okay. Where we do exactly that. You know, I was actually just sipping coffee, and I looked up at the screen and say, oh shit. And then there was one guy who was standing in the front, he hadn't caught anything. All right, just try, just like 4 meters. And it's funny because people are like, what, 4 meters? There's a fish 4 meters from me? Yes, 4 meters. So just 4 meters out, and then just let it sink. And we're like, yeah, come on, slow, let it sink. And then boom.
One bite. Oh, there, live bite. Nice.
And everybody on the boat running around. Then it came off.
Fun,
then it actually came off, honestly. But it was a fun video, actually.
Great. That sounds like a lot of fun. I mean,
it is.
It's also really, just for me personally, really nice fishing in the shallow lake, casting like big lures. Even though I'm not that much of a specific pike fisherman, but this is like the most favorite type for me also. And I think also a lot of the viewers can relate to that. And, we talked about it. Trolling is really efficient. You probably always get your fish just as we did today.
Yeah.
Now we try to cover also a lot of water by casting, but let's see. But talking about the species in specific, you said you're not that much into perch fishing, but you mentioned zander and pike. So maybe on those two, the guys are always interested in personal best. So maybe you can name your personal best on zander and pike.
My personal best zander is 7.6, I think. Yeah, 7.6, I think. I don't have the centimeters. I didn't measure it.
Oh, okay.
So 7.6 kilograms, something like that.
Yeah.
Pike is what, 11.4 or something. So I actually had a customer this year who broke my record.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he had a 13.1 on the boat. I was like, what? Yeah. Seriously, dude? And he sat down and drank beer. I don't know, man. But that was fun. Day. So that's actually, the boat record is actually bigger than my personal best.
Okay.
So the customers sometimes outfish me. I don't know what to make of that.
Nice for them though.
Yeah, it's nice for them actually.
Great. Okay. So after hearing something from you and about the fishing in general, we always try to also give some tips to the viewers who come to the area of South Sweden, who maybe also think of booking a guiding or also trying themselves. We talked about the waters that you have here. What is the advice you can give someone who maybe does not have the technology and does not have the boat and wants to go from shore? What can you look for in specific, or is it like really...
In this area, shore fishing is difficult from the lakes, because the lakes are often, they're quite shallow, quite far out. So shore fishing can sometimes be a challenge, also because they're very rocky, the bottoms.
Yeah.
So you lose lures a lot. If I'm on a boat and the lure is stuck in the bottom, we just go on the other side of the rock and then we pull it up. So we almost never lose lures. But if you fish from the shore, you lose a lot of lures. So if I was fishing from the shore, which I actually do from time to time, I go rivers.
Okay.
Because the rivers they're fairly deep close by. And you can always find areas. It's easier to read a river when you look at it, because you see, oh, there's some weeds over there, and the current is a little bit different there. There must be a rock. There might be a fish behind it, things like that. But lakes. This is if you look at this lake, this is a very small lake for this area. Looking out at a lake that looks almost like the sea, it's impossible to read it from shore.
Yeah, sure.
So, but the rivers, that actually works.
Okay, so coming back to that, because you mentioned also the spots that you look for or can look for, especially in a river, on a lake. That's also why you use the technology, because it's just way better.
There are. I mean, the technology has two things. So you can look for. There are, like, I guess, two strategies. So one strategy is going for structures, finding structures, pikes-like structures, for example. So that's one thing. Or you can look for bait fish. But I think it was there was a famous fisherman, pike fisherman, Dutch guy, Sean DeWitt, I think he's called. He said something that his strategy was also, he was only to just look for structures because he didn't want to look for bait fish, because the big pikes are still at the structure, but bait fish moves.
Okay.
And he apparently found that frustrating. And I get it, but I have caught a lot of good fish with bait fish, looking for the bait fish. Typically on deeper lakes, I will find bait fish, and bait fish that are getting chased, they're always a little bit suspended from the bottom. They're always a little bit stressed. And you can see that on the live screen. You can see that they're stressed. Even though you can't see the pikes, if the bait fish look like that, the pikes are there.
Okay, and you can really notice that on.
Yeah, you get to know what to look for, the signs, the patterns that you look for. Because also crazy, a bait fish, there's an American expression which says bait ball, which is like balled up bait fish. The reason that they ball up is because something wants to eat them, right? Mm-hmm. So, and on the bigger lakes, you even see that. You see that these are balled up. That's often perch, though. Mm-hmm. But especially you see on slopes, you see the bait fish hanging out, and then you see these. It's kind of hard to define actually, but it's kind of this thing that you see them a little bit lifted from the bottom. Yeah. And scattered in some way, and that's usually a sign that there is something hunting them, and it's usually a pike. Because when other fish, it looks different.
So that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's what I look for actually, and often you will actually even using Livescope, you'll see like bait fish that are hanging out at a specific depth. Mm-hmm. Let's say that they are between 4 and 6 meters. Mm-hmm. Let's say that that's 10 meters deep. And the bait fish are between 4 and 6 meters. That's quite often something I see a lot in early spring. And then you actually see the pikes hanging out below them. Okay. And sometimes you'll see the pike going up, come around and go down. You can actually think, what? This should be my lure. But they actually do that. And then you know, all right, cast for these. Something's going to happen now. Okay. So and then you cast in those areas. Then you usually get the fish, right?
What is the situation with licenses for the waters in your area, or in general? Maybe what you can talk to.
The good thing is that well, you need licenses for each lake. So that's for the lake. Mm-hmm. Most of the lakes are on this iFiske.
Yeah, we can also link that in the description.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. But the thing is that when I guide, I always buy those licenses for the customers anyway, and then I just put that on top of the bill, because it's a little bit. It takes time. You know, you're standing in the morning, you want to go out, get the morning bite, and then you have to spend an hour. People have to download the app, and I just do it, and then I just charge people for it. It's fine. Okay. It's the same. I don't make anything on it, but it's just a service.
Maybe also, as all of you can see, is the beautiful nature here. I think a lot of guys who come to Sweden not only for the good fishing, as we also talked, but also for the nature. Is there something specific that you saw on the maybe animal side or nature side, which you can point out here in the area?
One of the things I really, elks, and mostly what I will say with elks, watch out. Okay. Because when you drive in the morning, a lot of the time you want to go fishing early morning, right? Yeah. And when you drive that early in the morning, watch out, because the elks are on the move, and you don't want to crash into an elk. Okay. Because that's really bad. Yeah. I've seen elks, just this year, I've seen at least 6 or 7 elks. Oh. Driving out fishing in the morning. There's a lot of them. And it's a pretty cool animal looking at it. Yeah. I mean, I'm from Denmark. I didn't grow up here. Yeah. So for me, elk is also, I don't stop anymore when I see them, but I know I have customers that came a little bit late to bookings. We had to stop. We saw an elk. We had to go photograph it. All right, fine. It's fine. Well, fine with me. And there is wild boar, which is just a nuisance actually. Mm-hmm. They are everywhere and they dig up my garden and they're annoying. They're very tasty though. Okay.
So when they annoy you, you just grab them and put them.
No, I don't know. They destroy my lawn all the time. Oh. No. And also I've had to brake because sometimes they cross the road. Okay. You know? So, but they're an interesting animal too, I guess. Yeah. No, but we have eagles, a lot of eagles. Also on this lake, I see eagles.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Especially on Lake Myrklen, where I do a lot of guiding in the summers. A lot of the time I'll pass trolling by an eagle's nest.
Oh.
Because I know there are eagles there, and the last 2 years there's been eagles there, and so you can actually see the babies sitting there, baby eagles. It's kind of cool. You can hear them. You know, when the grown-ups come by, you can hear them screaming. It's kind of cool, actually.
It is definitely. I mean, as we said, the nature here is beautiful, so that's all part, of course, of coming to Sweden.
Yeah.
Not only the good fishing, but it's just totally different for our mostly German watcher base. Is that a word? I don't know. People are watching. Besides that, though, which is also part of the nature, is which you mentioned in the beginning already, the really typical, I think, brown water. So the brown water also we talked about in the beginning. We have a side depth of from about 20 to 30 centimeters or something. What colors of lures do you use in these conditions? So we fished so far pretty bright colors, but maybe your take on this.
My take on this is that these brown lakes, colors like this, yellow, orange, black, that thing will always work. This is like complete Vestin commercial, but it actually works really well. Caught a lot of fish on this one, but the other brands have the same color, so those usually work. Oh shit! I had a bite.
Really?
Yeah, kraftet. That was pretty cool. Where did it go? It was just. It must have been a small one that just hit it. It just went. No, that's the motor. Actually, that happens once in a while, that they hang out just below. They follow in, then just hang out below the boat.
Yeah.
It's probably just a small one. It was a very clear doing. I was like, oh shit. Yeah, so it works.
Yeah, it works.
Holy
The
shit.
colors work. Maybe you can also give an insight of
cool.
the lures that you usually use.
Yeah, on the shallow lakes, you never underestimate jerkbait.
Yeah.
It always works. Having said that, I never really catch the big ones on jerkbait. I don't know. Maybe it's just because the way I fish them. I usually fish them quite actively. If you want to go for the bigger ones, you usually fish a little bit more dull.
Yeah.
So jerkbait, and if we continue on the hard lures, if I do trolling, like the Vestin thing, salt is also really, really good. I usually tend to have these colors, red and white. Always works, and I'm not just saying that because I'm Danish, but it works. So that's for hard lures. For rubber, I mean the color is like the same, right? So it's always like yellow and but I have like a scheme that is if there is a lot of light out, this one always works. Even in these brown lakes, it's actually very good. But otherwise, also a little bit yellow with some orange on. And then when it's really dull, the weather, then things like this one is very good. Not because of the color, I think, but because it has UV reflection.
Yeah.
And I've seen especially, that's one of the benefits of Livescope. You can see a fish, you can cast on it, says no reaction, change the lure to another color, you get a reaction. And I don't know how many times I've switched to this color and it's been boom. They just hit it directly. So
I think what a lot of people, just my personal opinion, would need to hear, because we see all the lures and they are pretty big, and I think way too many people fish too small lures. Would you say that as well? Or?
Yeah, definitely, and but it's also a thing, right? Because when I have customers on board, most of the time they fish spinning wheels like you're doing there, and there's a limit to the size of the lure you can cast with those without ripping off your finger, right? Because this one is a normal sized lure for me, and it weighs what, 100 or a little bit more than 100 grams, and this one is the same. And if I was casting that with a spinning rod, my fingers would be gone.
Yeah, that's true.
But that doesn't mean that smaller lures doesn't catch fish. They catch just as many fish and sometimes even more fish. But the benefit of fishing bigger lures is that the chance of that big pike that doesn't really want to eat that opportunist fish. When it's hanging out there, there's a big chunk of food for free coming by it. There's a bigger chance that it will go for that one than it will go for a small thing. And then you have a customer that fish with a small lure, then they catch a big pike.
Yeah, what's going
so
on?
everything is theory, right? So,
but I think what we can take from this is don't be afraid of big lures.
no, never be afraid of big lures. I mean, we looked at them before, and
Yeah, there's some pretty huge ones in there. And not your biggest, you said, right?
no, I actually, this one is the small version of this one. I didn't bring it actually, but I have the bigger one versions of it too, and they're way too big to cast, but I use them for trolling quite a bit, and it works really well. And I mean, lures like this one, this is old and completely, you look at this, it's completely chewed up, right? This is a 40 centimeter lure, it weighs 150 grams, and I've caught really, really surprising small pikes on it. So never be afraid to use a big lure.
Now I think we will continue to talk about the guiding a little bit more in specific, because I mean we covered some topic of that already. Starting with a really nasty question, I would say. Can you you like that? I see that. Do you give a catch guarantee? Can you give that in Sweden?
I've never done that.
Okay.
But having said that, I've had one trip in those 3 years that didn't bring a fish in.
Okay.
And he lost like 5 or something. I was thinking, all right, seriously, dude. But I've had like, that one time where we looked at each other when it was kind of funny because it actually, not that there was no action, but it was funny when we came in with the boat. I was thinking, wait a minute, we didn't get any of one in the boat, did we? And that was a sad day.
Okay. But at least that's a really good quota.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
just one day, that's pretty
obviously
crazy.
we can have slow days and there's only 1 or 2 fish in the boat. That happens, it's fishing.
Yeah.
But usually we get fish one way or the other. And it's also about, because I try to customize everything, right? So if you want to go cast for a big pike, then it's also a question of accepting that you might be casting a whole day and you might not catch anything. I've actually had trips with customers where we did that and there was maybe 1 or 2 pikes in the boat and I caught both of them, unfortunately, which is like almost, you get a little bit sad for it because, I mean, a 7 kilogram pike, I've caught enough of them, right?
Yeah.
So I would almost like, you want to hold the rod? No, I want to catch it myself.
Of course.
So it's like that. But sometimes we switch to trolling if people really want to get a fish in, and then usually you get a fish.
Okay.
But it also depends on, is the customer one that's, like a hardcore fisherman, or is it somebody who has never really fished before and just wants to try and catch a fish? So it's a little bit like, communication.
Of course it is, yeah. Makes totally sense. And talking about that and the care for the customer also, you mentioned before when the camera was not on that you usually take a break somewhere on the shore and just pour up some coffee and some beverages, maybe some snacks.
Yeah.
So to wrap that up in one question, what does like the perfect guiding look for you as a guide?
I had a perfect guiding my first guiding this year, just after the ice broke, was actually perfect. We went out early morning on a big pike lake. Also, there are also smaller fish on it, obviously. But we went out early morning. I had a waypoint that I knew always works early spring. So we went to that one, stopped the boat, started casting. And these ones are guys that have tried fishing before, but like fish maybe once a year or something. And after 15 minutes, we had like 4 pikes in the boat. Small ones, but still fish. And then we had a few fish. Then we went ashore on a little island. We brewed some coffee and we had some lunch.
Beautiful.
Then we went out again and we caught 2 or 3 more pikes and then went back in.
Great.
Unfortunately, that day we didn't catch any big ones. We had a 5 kilogram-ish one that came off just at the boat, but that's fine. But that was like, had we had that really big one, that would have been like the perfect guiding.
What could you wish more for?
That was a perfect day, actually.
That sounds also really good, and I mean that's the thing. Of course, also you can control, right? So either they're there and you put right in front of them, or you just don't. We talked about the technology which is used on the board already. So you have a Livescope, looks like a crazy system. As said, I've never seen that before, and I think probably a lot of guys who maybe book a guiding also did not fish with the Livescope yet, which is really interesting.
That's really. I've actually done trips where people that have booked just to get to learn how to use sonars, right?
Yeah.
So that's definitely a thing. And I know of at least 4 people that has been with me on a trip and been a little bit sorry, Livescope. They bought it, all 4. They bought Livescope systems now. So thank you, Garmin.
Yeah. Talking about the size of your boat, which is pretty big, which we were impressed about. I actually can't remember if you mentioned in the beginning, but how many guys do you usually take with you at a maximum?
So this boat I actually bought this boat for guiding.
Yeah.
This is not a boat that I would buy if I was just a sports fisherman myself. The benefit of this one is that it's 5.5 meter. It's 2.3 I think wide, and I can have 4 adults plus me fishing on it, casting, and it tends to work pretty well. So it's very big, very stable. I've had 4 kids running around on it, and nobody fell in, so that was also good because it's very high on the sides.
Yeah.
So it's perfect for that type of guiding.
So probably also really beginner friendly, right? If you're not used to fish from a boat, it's also something different.
Yeah.
And that also leads to maybe my next question. Your guidings, do you maybe feel like it's more for beginners or amateurs, or is it also for advanced or for professionals? Where would you rank yourself in, or would you say all 3, I can do everything?
I can do everything. I've had professional guys on the boat, but I've also had so many beginners. Especially last year, I had a lot of beginners, like, that I had to teach them how to cast first. They never held a fishing rod in their life.
Oh, okay.
So I have a lot of those too.
Yeah.
And that's really fun actually, because there is something that happens inside the brain of a person the first time they feel a bite.
Yeah.
And it is just so cool to see.
Yeah.
Because you have these people. I've done like events with companies, and some people that come out on those trips, they don't really want to go fishing. They're just there because the company is there, right?
Yeah.
But I've seen it happen. Like, you're standing there and there's a zander that just hits the lure. It doesn't even get hooked or anything because they're like, but something happens. And they're like, they don't want to go home anymore. Like, can we stay out? I was like, yeah, as long as you pay, then fine.
Great. We mostly we are done. I have one more question before we come to. We did that already on German, which was a top or flop, which we now do a versus game. So we give you two let's say Livescope versus casting or whatever, and you say what you prefer or what you think works best, with maybe a small explanation to that. But we will come to the game just in a second. Maybe the last words we will give to you, just to tell the guys why should one book a guiding with you. It's just like tell from your perspective.
I'm not really passionate about. There's not one thing that I'm more passionate about. The thing that is about my guidings is that I like customizing things. Because fishing is different for every person, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So I like this thing about having that little connection with the customer first, and finding out what do they want. How can I make this a good trip for them? Because they're the ones paying, so it doesn't have to be a good trip for me.
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of people that do guided trips, and they guide in exactly what they want to fish. And so I like pike fishing, I like zander fishing. So obviously it has to be within that. So that I'm passionate about. But if you want to do it with Livescope, or if you want to do it with trolling, or if you want to do it with casting, that's kind of up to you.
Okay.
Obviously I have suggestions.
Yeah, sure.
And my suggestion is usually casting. But it's also about who is the customer and how are they in skill level too. So a lot of the time I have, as I said, I have a lot of beginners, and you can't really start just doing Livescope fishing with them, because they have to with precise Livescope fishing, you have to hit something that's the size of a bucket, and you have to hit that with from 10 meters from, and you don't do that if you've only been fishing for an hour or two. So then you switch to trolling if they really want to catch something. All right, fine, we'll just switch to trolling. The fish are not really on, but using trolling we can cover a lot of water and we'll probably catch a fish.
Okay.
So I tried to like customize it that way.
So really customer focused, we can call it also.
Yeah.
Which is pretty nice, I think, because I also think there are a lot of guys who don't do that, and that's I think at least I would appreciate it as a customer to have like this tailored individually on my
yeah,
needs.
but that's the thing. I mean, if a lot of customers came on, if I just go fishing on my own, because I do a lot of fishing on my own too, and if they were to come on one of those trips, I only go for a big fish, and I don't mind sailing around for 9-10 hours without catching anything, as long as I have the chance of getting that one big one.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly boring if you're sitting in the boat and not being the one looking at the screen, or not being the one casting all the time and things like that. So that's different, right?
And as I said, we give now 2 words which are comparable to each other, or 2, let's say, techniques or baits or whatever. And then Christian can give his opinion on that, or maybe his favorite of these 2. And as we talked about the Livescope just a second ago, the first one would be Livescope versus trolling.
Livescope.
Definitely Livescope.
Yeah, it used to be trolling, now it's Livescope.
Okay. Bright versus natural colors.
Both.
Both? Depends on the water?
Yeah, depends on the water. I use both.
Okay. Also in the conditions we have here in this water color?
No, because there's 2 things. There's the light, and then there's the watercolor too. So you have to take both into account. So now I'm actually considering, should I switch back to the bright one, or to the more flashy one here, or should I just stick to using this yellow thing?
This yellow thing.
Both of them probably works.
Okay. I think this question is pretty easy, but fishing from shore or fishing from boat?
Boat.
Boat, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless it's carp fishing, then I would probably do shore.
Okay.
Or boat, I don't know.
Then the next one would be, do you use hard mono or do you use steel leaders?
I use fluorocarbon for leaders.
Fluorocarbon?
Yeah.
A big one. What is the diameter you use?
I usually go 0.95, I think it is.
Okay.
So around 1.9 between, around there.
Okay.
Not. I don't go lower. Depends on the fish. If it's big sander, 0.7. Normal sander casting, 0.5.
Okay.
Pikes, 0.9 or 1 or something.
Then we have maybe specifically for shallow lake like this, top water versus jigging. Neither?
Neither, actually.
Okay. So you never use top water also?
I would cast lures.
Okay. Simple as that.
And jerkbait or rubber.
Okay.
I don't think it matters much, actually.
Then you talked also about the river and how to more easily read it than a lake. So we have the question, river versus lake.
I like lakes.
You like lakes,
Yeah.
okay. But it's possible to catch here on both. Like really.
Absolutely. The pike record on this boat was in a river. So.
Ah, okay. Also interesting to know. Then we have bait cast versus spinning reel.
Bait cast.
Bait cast. I think we covered that also already. That you have a lot.
But I have spinning reels that customers can borrow. So.
That's good to know also. And the last one is there, live bite. Nice. That's great. Just within the.
Yeah, I need a net for this one. It's a sander.
Oh, it's a good sander.
It's a sander.
Yes. On a jerk bait. On a jerk bait. Nice.
Nice. Just keep it in the water. I'll just unhook it.
Good size sander.
Yeah, it's not huge, but it's
no, it's but it's fine.
4 maybe 5, 3, 4.
In kilos.
I'll just get. Yeah, I can just take it. It was funny. It was in a spin stop because I had to answer your question, and I was thinking. I didn't feel like. Wait a minute, that's a fish.
As you see, Christian knows what he's talking about. He just showed it live on the camera. That was pretty funny. live within the game. Yeah,
I love that bite.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like that thing, you know. Live scoping this one, it's not that big.
Yeah.
It would have been just a live scope fish, but having it on a jerkbait now, it's like
It's totally different. Yeah.
gotta love it.
Now we continue with the last question because we were almost done and then it happened, which was pretty funny. That was better timing than I could have imagined.
Probably couldn't have been much better timing for that one.
Do you prefer sunny or cloudy weather?
Always cloudy.
Also for Zander?
Yeah,
No matter what.
also for Zander, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Cloudy weather is always better. Sunny weather doesn't matter which lake it is. Sunny weather is always bad.
Okay.
And then you have to go early, and then you have to tell the customers, so guys, it's 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Happens. That's
Perfect.
cool.
I think that wraps it up pretty good. It was a pretty fun trip so far. We have gotten a lot of information from Christian. We will link Christian, of course, also in the comments. His guidings, where you can find him on Catch a Guide, his website, his socials, etc. You can find all the information in the description. For now, also, thank you for watching already. We will continue this format across whole Sweden. So I think we have for the next 2 months, roughly 16 more guides that we will visit and probably do an interview with most of them. So if you have any specific questions or any critique how we can improve the format, please let us know in the comments. We would be happy if you drop a follow. And of course, check out Christian. You just saw how well it is working. We caught a pike, we caught a zander.
And follow my Instagram too.
Follow his Instagram, as said, exactly. We put everything in the description. And yeah, we will continue fishing for, I think, a little bit more.
Yeah, let's do a couple of hours. I don't know, what time is it?
Yeah.
We have time.
And you will see if there's some more fish coming out. Yeah. But so far already, thanks a lot. Was a
One
pleasure.
pike, one zander, yeah.
And is a pleasure still.
Yeah, it is, it is.
Let's hope to get some more fish and see you next time.
All right.
Yeah, the drifting tour is going on and the weather conditions, yeah, it looks a bit more sunny right now, but at least we got another pike, a small one. What a beautiful looking fish, and that one will go back directly.